Everyone, welcome back, and today we are going to do another test-driven development video. And in this example we are going to dive into the view model part. So let's dive into the code and see what happened. So now we are in the branch feature view model here, and last time we've coding the API integration test and also the networking part around here, and today we're going to move to the view model. So yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward, and let's see if we can still build in a green state. Press Command U and see what happens if we are testing the project here. Okay, so we are still in the green state. That's pretty good. And the way how we can start is, of course, starting from the task side. So let me close this and create a new group, and let's call it, I don't know, UI or presentation. For me, presentation usually. And let me try to move this to bottom, and I'm gonna start with a unit test, and let's call it character view model task here, and make sure the language is Swift. And let's go and next and save it somewhere with the appropriate folder. Create, and you will get some kind of boilerplate here. And let's delete that. Let's make the task fail with the exit fail here, and hit Command U again, and hopefully we can see the failing task, and that's pretty good. All right, so how we can start this? First, we need to create the instance, right? So we need to be able to interact with the instance. So we can copy the character view model here, and let's rename the function. It can init, right? So I'm gonna create the SUT and paste the character view model, and hopefully we can get the instance. And let's see if we cannot find the character view model, right? So what we can do is we can create here character view model, and let's do this in minimal way. So let's Command U again and see it's actually green test, but we are not testing anything, right? So we can improve this one. Maybe if we are in init, maybe we can assert that this character view model, when it is init, we don't want automatically loading the user. So does not load user at this point, right? So when we are trying to instantiate the SUT with the appropriate service, so in this case I want to inject the service like this service here. When we are doing this init here, so we can assert that the service dot load user call count should be 0 here, because we don't want to call the service dot load user function when we are doing the SUT.init here, right? So the compiler is getting us, we don't have the service type. So let's create the service type, service, and in this example we can use the spy service spy here. We can inject the service, and yeah, basically the compiler is loading, and we could not have the service spy here. So we can create the service spy. Let's go again. It's a private final class service spy here. And the service spy is basically another implementation of a service class. So if we go to the service, we have the remote service character, right? And here we have the non-private function. So what we can do is we can create the protocol character service. Here we can copy the protocol, and we can make the remote character service conform to the characters service protocol here. And this would be make the relationship is remote service is actually a service, right? And in this case, in this example, I want this service pi is actually a service, so we can make that relationship as well. Let me copy and paste character service here, and of course it does not work because we need to import testable. And now we need to conform to the protocol stubs, and let's see if we can confirm that here. Let me simplify the code, run the area. That's pretty good. So what is this pi here? The service pi is act to collect the data, because we are counting the cal count. So when the user hit this load service, we want the cal count incremented by 1. So basically we need the load user cal count is 0 here, but I don't want to set this from the outside. So what we can do is we can make the set private, set var something like this. Okay, now the compiler wants me to return anything, either a character or an error or a throw error, but I didn't care about return type for this pi, so I could just randomly return character. So let me do it quickly for you. All right, now it's all set for the service pi here, and what we need to do is we need to inject the service pi into the character ViewModel, right? So we can create a private let service, or maybe character service better, character service, and this one would be the character service, and we need the initializer, right? So we could right click and generate member-wise initializer, and Xcode will generate the init for you. Let me move this to bottom here, and yeah, basically we need to rename these things into a service, and that's it. I think that's pretty much a good code setup, and we can hit Command U again at the moment, and let's see what's happening. Okay, my Xcode is crashed, so let me open this again. Okay, let's hit Command U again and see what happened. Right, we're pretty much good. So we have our very first task here. The character ViewModel does not load user when we are doing the initialization. So now we can commit here. Let me commit this one. So the character ViewModel .init does not load user. You can commit here. And I think the test is pretty much simple, but I want to make this naming specific for the character service. So let me refactor and rename here into some kind of character service pi. So let's rename that and hit the Command U again. All right, that's good. So let me commit again, name a test double here. Commit. Okay, that's good. Now what I want to do in the next step or test is I want to test that when I call the ViewModel.load function, I want to make sure that it is actually hitting the service, starting the communicating with the service. So what we can do is we can do something similar here. So we can copy paste, and let's change this into I don't know, some kind of on load or on appear or whatever, and we are trying to load user, right? In this example, so the setup is pretty much the same, but what I want to do is we want to call the onload function on the ViewModel side, and hopefully in the onload we are talking to the service immediately. So hopefully we can call the service by checking the call count of the service by 1, right? So let's hit Command U again, and of course the compiler is telling us that hey, we don't have this onload function, so we can copy and create the onload function at the moment. So paste and Command U, and you can see the test is gonna be fail, right? So this is the TDD cycle here. We are failing the test. That's pretty good. Why? Because we actually didn't call the character service inside the load, so that's why the call count is expecting as 1, but it is actually not 1. It doesn't do anything in here. So basically what we can do is we can start communicating with the service. All right, so what is this character service dot let's see if we have any API on there. Load with ID. Oh, apparently I need an ID. Is it asynchronous again? Let's see, it's async. All right, so let me inject the ID here, and this one I need the ID as well. So let's give it, I don't know, any ID one here, and let's inject the ID, and we need the result, right? We need to store it somewhere. I don't care about the return type. I mean, like return result for the load, either it is actually got throwing error or maybe not. So what I can do is using the try optional here, and let's store it into nothing here. And I need to wait for this, and I need to mark this function as asynchronous here. And this onload function will make this task to conform to the async syntax or async syntax. So we need to await around here, and we need to mark this function as async. So I think that's the setup. Let me check again, Command U. And yeah, we can now when we are trying to call the onload function, we are basically checking that this actually communicate with the load method from the service, right? So if I try to comment this out, and the function will fail. So that's why we need to have this testing to guard the behavior of our character ViewModel. So that's the benefit of the test-driven development. So let me run the function again, Command U, and that's pretty good. Let's commit, and now the character ViewModel on load user, not load user, it should be load character, but yeah, commit. And this is actually not a user, it's a character, so we can quickly edit it, right? So we can do is click here and Control Shift click on the other one here, and you know that we have a double pointer here. We can rename that as load character here. Skip, and that's pretty much good. Hit Command U. I'm gonna fix this uppercase. Command U again. That's pretty good. Let me commit again. Rename task functions and hit the commit. And I think that's pretty much a pretty good start in this character ViewModel. And the next thing is I want to check my ViewModel could deliver an error. And what we can do is we can try to test onload shows error when failing, right? So the setup is we still need the SUT, and we need to await for the loading here, and the assertion could be a little bit different, but yeah, let me fix this quick. So what we want to do is we want to inject the service, and let's create the service, and I believe the service should be another testable type, which is the character service stop, because we want to stop the scenario. Either it will having a failure or a success response, but in this case I want to use the failure case. And the failure case we have already defined it in the remote character service, so we could use this one dot error and some error in here. So remote character service dot error dot I don't know, it's random error, like let's say server error. And here after we define this service, we need to inject the service into the ViewModel, and we need to load, and we basically need to assert that the SUT, I don't know, maybe error message is something like, oops, an error occurred. Let me type it quick. This is the setup, and we can see that we don't have this type character service stop and the result failure stop. So what we can do is we can create the same testable, maybe with a little bit different behavior. It's actually character service what is this one, and we need to call the load function in here, and we need to inject the result so we can create the private let result, and this result is actually a Swift result, either returning a character or an error in here, and we need to inject, or we need to create the initializer. So let's right click and generate member as initializer. Let's move this into bottom of the result there, and what we need to do is we basically want to switch the result, right, and return the appropriate value. So if we have the character and if we have an error, in this case we want to return the we want to return this character, and if we got the value we want to throw the error, right? And now this top component is done, and hopefully we could continue. Oh yep, I need to mark this function as an async, and I need to have the error message, right? What you can do is we can create the error message string variable in here, and let's see if I can get a success test. And of course I'm not gonna get the success test. Why? Because the error message is actually an empty string, right? We need to make this error message here the same in the ViewModel as well when we got the error. So we can expand this logic. If we get the error here, let me check, let me copy and comment this one. So what we can do is we can do this one and catch if we got any error. Let's store it somewhere, and the error message should be equal to this guy over here. So the error message is gonna be this one. Okay, I think this is pretty much straightforward, and let's hit Command U again and let's check. All right, now we can get the error message, right? And this one is pretty good. So let me commit, because we basically can have the working showing error solution. So character ViewModel on load delivers error message. That's pretty good. And what I want to do, if I got no error, it means that if I succeed, I can show the user. I got the user basically. So shows user. Oh, not the user again, it's the character. So the thing is, I want this success, and we could copy the character setup here, and let's make the expected character here, expected character, and when we load, we are hoping that the expected character on the SUT, I mean this one character, should be the expected character, right? Because we don't want this character is new at the point, and the character does not conform to equitable. So let me search the character. Oops, I mean the character here. Hit Command Shift O and paste the character, and let's make that character into equitable, and close this. I believe I still need to make this character, right? So what we can do is we can define something like this, right? So let's hit Command U and see if this is gonna be failing, of course, because it's actually new, right? And what we need to do is we need to assign the result into the character here. So I believe this could be fix the error issue. So hit Command U, and the test is succeed. That's pretty good. We have a green test, and we're basically almost done. Oh, seems like we don't need to use this, but yeah, let me comment and quickly fix that. So let's check here. So the character view model onload. Yeah, character view model onload shows character. Commit, and let's silence the warning because we actually don't need this, right? So let's assign it into nothing. Hit Command U, and let's deliver another commit. Silent compiler warning commit, and so look at the implementation at the moment. So I think this implementation is pretty much good, and I'm kind of happy with this implementation. But now we basically need to improve this example around here, because first we basically can try to minimize the code setup around here using a helper method. This one as well, and this one as well. This is a little boilerplate, so basically we can try to refactor that. And also what I want to improve is this checking, because we're basically trying to check what's actually happened on the last state of the view model. So what I mean by that is we are trying to assert that we got the error, but we haven't checked if we actually trigger the loading state, right? So how to do that? And yeah, basically we could try to do that maybe in the next part, but I think I'm pretty much good with this one, except we basically can improve this here. So yep, let's start to refactor the setup. So we can create the make SUT here, and the SUT is gonna be the character view model. We basically need spy here, so the SUT is character view model, and the character service spy is the service here, and we can move this around the creation, and this one is the SUT, and we can return the SUT and service around that area. And we basically can call the SUT here and the service make SUT, because we don't actually care about the SUT, so we can make it as underscore here. But in this example, on the second test function, we could define both SUT and the service here. So let me run the test to check. That's good, we don't break anything. So let's move this refactoring to bottom here, and let's hit Command U again. This is actually a helper class, or belongs to the helper. So let me give the mark here, helpers. All right, that's pretty much good. And what about this one? We can do the same thing, but I think we will have a different function. So oops, so let me check. Private func make SUT, it's gonna be returning the view model, but we need to inject the result behavior, right, like this one. So let me just copy here and see if we can return the SUT, but we need to inject the service, right? And what I want to inject is this result value, but we already have this result, so we can reuse this one, copy and paste there, and we need to inject the result. And I think this one is pretty much done, so we could say something like make SUT with this result. All right, and what about this one? We could do the same, make SUT, this result is gonna be this result. Okay, I think that's pretty much good. Command U. We can refactor that into make SUT. So refactor or simplify SUT creation using factories or factory method. Commit, and I think that's pretty good. we could try to hide this implementation. Maybe we could give some kind of any character, so we can return the any character around here. So we are hiding stuff. That's pretty good. Hide character creation, commit. And I just realized that we could actually improve this code around here, I mean this test assertion, because we actually only checking what if we are in the server error, right? So the idea is we could try to loop all of the possible error cases and check if we got the same error message, right? So we could try to make these errors here as the remote character service error, all cases here, and these errors, it is not possible. Why? Because the error needs to conform into case iterable. All right, so now what we can do is to loop through the errors and move this assertion there. Like this, and we need to inject the error. So failure with a specific error, right? And hit Command U and see that we should have still a green state here. And that's very good. And to improve the assertion, maybe we want to check if we are failing on the certain error case, we could give an index. So we can do something like this, index and error, and we need to enumerate this. Enumerated, and we can add the index checking assertion. So expect fail at index with error, this error that is in every single iteration here. So I think that's pretty much good, and let's run the unit test again, and yeah, I think that's pretty much good. And let's try to commit this one. After ViewModel dot onload show error every case. Okay, we are pretty much good at the moment. Let's run this again, and I think that's pretty much good. And in the next video, we could try to refactor the things that I said earlier. What if we want to check the loading state transition? So for example, if we want to load, we want to assert that this ViewModel is gonna be showing the loading screen and showing the error. And if we are trying to show the character first, we need to show the loading first and then show the character first. We can do that, but I think I'm gonna do that in the next video. Yeah, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.